Okay, this is the video where I think everything gets summed up in clay alteration and uranium without getting the rest of the results, which were still pending. But I love this clay alteration area. Cameron loves it. Everyone else that works with us on the technical team, we all love this. Yeah, great clay alteration. Visually, it's significant. And as we've gone through in the other videos, it has the right illite, has that lead isotope fingerprint. The hydrothermal heavy rare earths are there, anomalous boron. But the best way to find uranium is to follow uranium. It's as simple as that. And that's what gets you to the target. But without having that white clay, that really strong clay alteration, because that's what I've seen throughout my career. I've been fortunate enough to have been in this industry long enough and have seen core from other deposits. In 2006, on a site tour, I got to see mineralization, uranium mineralization around Millennium, but it was really that white clay alteration that just stuck out in my head. So being able to show that 2007 when I was relogging drill core for Denison back on the Wheeler River project, two holes ZKO4, ZKO6 that I got to look over. Again, it was that white clay alteration in the basement rocks, and these holes are 100 meters away from what became the Griffin zone. So that white clay alteration with uranium mineralization within parts of that really, again, it just sticks right out, and it's something that I can't ignore. The amount of clay alteration and white clay alteration that we saw uh, with Hathor working on Rough Rider. Same thing with Next Gen over at Arrow. White clay alteration within a halo and or directly associated with uranium mineralization. Those are the two things that really go hand in hand for finding uranium deposits. Out of everything that there is, it's just massive clay alteration and uranium mineralization. So, which brings us to Hook in 2024, 10 years after Arrow, and we're seeing a similar type of massive white clay that we've seen on other deposits. Like this core just looks so strikingly similar to what's at Arrow, or sorry, Millennium. That's core from Millennium. So, we're going to look at uranium. And what I've done is basically I've taken the uranium results from each of the samples within the clay alteration itself within that envelope and just took an average. And then I took all the rocks from above that alteration, all the rocks from below, just trying to see if we can tease anything out. So if we look at that first hole, up dip in the section, hole 17, and I've highlighted the clay alteration numbers and location in red, but immediately if you can see that the chemistry of that clay has a higher uranium content than the average of the rocks above it and below it. That is cool. See, that gets me. I'm curious about that. And I think there's far more to it. And so when we look at the next hole doing the exact same thing, we can see that the clay is enriched with uranium compared to the rocks above it and below it. That is very encouraging. And that's why it's also frustrating that we don't have the rest of the drill holes to follow up with this idea. But what we do have, and we've done this in a presentation back in September, you can find that on our website, is we can look at the radioactivity. Now that we have a good idea that the clay has more uranium than all the rocks around it, we can look at the radioactivity and see if we can tease something like that, out of this information. So I've basically done the exact same thing here. We identified the clay alteration as those blue rectangles, the radioactivity of those intervals now in black, but that's the average radioactivity from the downhole gamma probe within the clay alteration area are in black, and then the average radioactivity of the rocks above them and below the clay alteration are in red. And if you immediately look through the data, I hope you see two things that really pop. Number one, the radioactivity within the clay alteration, within the blue rectangles, is higher than the rocks above and below it. The rocks above and below, do not exceed 30 counts per second on average, whereas the radioactivity within the clay alteration constantly exceeds 30 counts per second on average. That is very cool. That to me again indicates that we have more fertility within these fluids. I like it. That's what we're looking for. The next thing to notice as we go down dip, So hole 21 that we don't have uranium results for, it has a larger, it has a higher average radioactivity than the other two holes on section, holes 17 and 16, both of which are up dip. So is this kind of indicating that yes, maybe the system that we're looking for, that target that we're looking for, the reason why we keep thinking that it's deeper is because of reasonings, details like this, that the radioactivity is increasing as we go down. When we jump over to the other two holes, holes 22 and 23, so they form a fence basically going north-south on that image. And so we're looking west into these three drill holes. Hole 21 that we just looked at, very similar results overall with hole 22. But when we look at hole 23, which is the furthest drill hole to the north, again, the radioactivity within the clay alteration increases quite significantly compared to what we were seeing in holes 17 and 16, which were about 30 counts per second on average. Now we're seeing 40 counts per second on average. It just seems to be that this alteration area is is continuously showing us that this is a pathway for uranium. The fluids have been through here to create that clay in the first place, and when we put it all together now, we've got that clay, elevated uranium from the two drill holes that we have, but we have radioactivity results that would help us anticipate that we would have more uranium within the system. We're seeing the right ylites, the lead isotope fingerprint, hydrothermal heavy rare earths, anomalous boron. Everything just points to this area having the potential for uranium mineralization. And if it's anything like we typically see in the Athabasca Basin, that's typically high grade uranium mineralization. And that's what makes this whole area very exciting. We have received some assay results, so they are slowly trickling in still. 19% of the total amount are still pending, and we're on 30 to 32 weeks from when we dropped off these samples. So hopefully things can turn around and we can get the rest of these results sooner rather than later. We're starting to get the radioactive drill holes from ACKIO returned, pending holes 137 and 144 now, and then we've got three more drill holes worth of regional drilling, all of the ones that finish up this clay alteration area, and that's what we're patiently waiting for, is just to see what happens with the rest of this story, because I think HK 2423, I'm hoping, fingers are crossed, that that hole is going to have the best of the best signatures out of everything we've seen so far, because basically we've been looking at two drill holes worth of data out of five. We need the rest of these drill holes to finish off this target and figure out where we're going to go. All right, I'm passionate about this if you haven't noticed. It's because Baseload's part of the org group of companies. We have been a very successful group of companies. Absolutely awesome. Forward-looking statements. I'm pretty sure I've been making them all the way throughout the video. And you can reach us. There you go, jsykes@orggroup.com. You can email the website info@orggroup.com. Please follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and follow these videos on YouTube if you haven't seen them yet. But I think this clay alteration area is hot. I think that is a discovery waiting to happen. Thank you very much for watching. James Sykes.